to this computer. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where's the rest of the class. Well, people are not coming. First of all, let me say I'm so sorry about making up. This is the last class, correct? This is the last class because next
Bef
week I'm in a plane. I'm not doing anything from it. I'm not discussing terrorism in the middle of a plane.
when
No.
is it when is the next class?
You mean the next term?
Yes.
The first week of September, I'm going to send you the information. It's the
Okay.
same thing. But this one, like I said, is hybrid. It's not Zoom. It's up to you. And please don't ask me about the pay. You could do whatever hell you want. You can pay me in the class. You can pay me online. I don't care. You can sell. I don't care about any of that. But it is a hybrid class, like we always do. How our
Right.
hybrid class is. But I called I haven't called, excuse me. I called waiting for the response. Miami sure to see if it's available that day for us. If it's not, I'll make another arrangement around your area. Do not worry. Do not worry. It's like the
Okay.
first week of September. We absolutely have it. So
Perfect.
don't even worry about that. I'll send out the notice next week because we have so much to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to start with domestic. I know we have a lot of foreign policy, but the world is down the toilet. It's not going to make a difference if we discuss domestic first. The first domestic thing I want to talk about, it's not funny, but at the same time, it's a little bit funny that it was leaked out today that the president of, I don't know who's so-called leaking these out, right? That the president of the United States, when it was in NATO, he was afraid of getting killed. And
What happened?
Max, you need to put it on mute because you have two different laptops or two different computers, so it goes echo. And in order for him not to be killed, whatever, they put him in a food container and they rolled him in the plane. So
Who,
that's
Trump?
yes, the president of the United States. I find that a little bit hard to believe, not just because some people said he's too big to go into these little food containers, not just because of that, but it did send a negative. It did, it is being ridiculed online, particularly when they compare him to Mr. Khamenei, who died in his home, who didn't leave. He went, didn't run away. And of course, that was certainly explained online when you see he's playing golf and they were joking they have these Patriot missiles behind him to make sure he's safe. And so I think, ladies and gentlemen, what is happening in the United States at the moment is that the American people have basically have it. In the latest poll that came out yesterday, 2 days ago, I apologize for that, 70%, 75% of the country is against. It's thought it was a massive mistake going to this war. And about two-thirds of the same polls were showing that the United, doesn't matter to blame Israel, that aside, they need for United States to get out of this war. And I think when you look at the current economic conditions, you can see what. Now, apparently, our oil reserves are the lowest in 40 years, but domestically, that's very important, ladies and gentlemen. Not because of gas going up and down, because people tend to forget everything goes up now. Not because the truck drivers are there, but rather, ladies and gentlemen, it's the insurance. We have Greek, Vicky, she's Greek. She knows how shipping works. You've got to be Greek and know how shipping works. There's no way you're not going to know. Everything on a ship, the insurance is ridiculously high. They cannot get through, but it would take like 40 days. Now it takes 4 months. So the president finds itself in a very, very difficult situation. You have the Republican Party, ladies and gentlemen, that is facing a massive, massive backlash. You have the Senate and you have the House. Most likely, the House will flip, most likely as it's going. But the Senate, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be much, much more difficult because what is it now? I think what the Republicans need to get, the Democrats need to get four, right? Four the Senate seat to win. But there are three at play. Number one, Kentucky, right, with Miss Mitch McConnell. You wouldn't think about that, but the way the Mitch McConnell has been handled, is he dead? Is he alive? Is he in coma? No one has seen him for 3 months. He's recuperating. All the online jokes that, oh my God, they have him, going to gates of hell, with Lindsey Graham saying, come on in, I've been waiting for you, right? So, which is not a nice thing to say, by the way. I don't want to talk about the dead like that. You also have the second one is Lindsey Graham, ladies and gentlemen, who is still being crucified I think it was yesterday that they named the Air Force base after him. If you're on social media, whether it's X, whether it's Substack, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube, I can guarantee you the significant majority of people are extremely angry that he's giving so much honor. He was significantly disliked. People are blaming for the war, blaming for being so pro-Israel. So these two, for sure, I'd say South Carolina and Kentucky could be at play. Now, South Carolina is important because the day that I'm traveling, August 18th, is the Republican primary. That's a biggie. With the person that Donald Trump chooses, his sister, right? No experience. I'm basically here because my brother passed away and I want to take his position. Or would it be someone that the president, the party will say someone that the president did not want? And that is very important, ladies and gentlemen, because if the Republican Party chooses someone else, that's signaling to the president that we are tired and we're not going to put up with crap. Now, there are a lot of people running. So you may have somebody winning by 25 points or whatever, like maybe 1 point, 2 point. But that is an important issue because if she wins, she will have a very difficult time, very difficult time. All the analysts are arguing, difficult time. Okay, Max, you need to put it on a mute because you have two different things on. I understand that, but it echoes. And so I apologize, I put you on mute. She will have a very difficult time to defeating a candidate that's going against her. So that's the second one. The third one I play, ladies and gentlemen, is Texas, right? Texas. Somebody throw me a bone. Why Texas is a biggie? Anybody? Go ahead, Vicky. On mute.
Well, it's a biggie because you've got Tellerico against Paxton, and Paxton is one stupid, crazy MF. And I think that Tellerico just makes a lot of sense to everybody. I mean, he's not a bad guy. He's a smart guy. He's a religious guy. He stands for everything that Texans believe in, but he's not macho. So they're trying to attack him by calling him transgender and all this shit. I don't think it's going to fly. And I will dying to see the debate between Tellerico, or maybe I'm mispronouncing his name, and Paxton, because the young boy will eat him for breakfast.
Well, that's the point about Texas. You brought a great point. You know, the gentleman, he's a womanizer, he's a liar, he's cheat, he's scum. Will Texan vote for such a guy just because he's a Republican, right? In the past, you could have said, actually, yes, they might have. They really could. A lot of people voted for Trump knowing who he was. But I think this time, with the economy the way it is, with the war the way it is, and the way the president chose this guy over the guy, there are a lot of bad feelings. You know, a lot of Republicans may come and openly say, yeah, we understand what the president did. But when they go into that room, when they pull the lever, for the lack of a better term, I think this time the Republicans, there's enough Republican anger to either not vote, which make the Democrats win, or actually vote for the guy. Because remember, the president just kicked the other guy out the door. He was a loyal Republican. He stuck to the ground. He knew how things were. Now you brought this, you know, whatever, womanizing, bad reputation, doesn't know what's going on, and his only loyalty is to Trump. That's his only candidacy marks. So I think actually these three are at play. Now, Democrats have their own. So I'm not sure. I am actually not sure you can flip the Senate. Even if you get up three, I'm not even sure you're going to flip the Senate because the Democrats are doing well in some ways, but at the same time, they have their own problems. The question for domestically, ladies and gentlemen, is it a time that the American people are to such a point, and I think if they are, it could be, I don't know, Mickey Mouse or Dumbo running for the Democratic Party and they could win. Are the American people so angry at the moment, whether it's domestically, whether it's whatever the reason, war, job, whatever, that they're going to say, I'm going to vote for anybody but him? It's sort of like.
But Mitra, I think one point Now, one point I think that we should make here is that if the Democrats, and they still haven't done this, if the Democrats get on point and on message, they have a chance. The problem with the Democrats right now is you've got this idiot Chuck Schumer against another idiot Hakeem Jeffries.
They both gotta
And
go.
you've got everybody doing their own thing, and there's no common ground. And you might not like the Republicans, but they're on point and they're on message, and they've been straight shooting. So my question, and a problem also with the Democrats, is that you have these quote unquote extreme liberals who are the new democratic socialists and blah, 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 whatever. But you need to get some sort of unity within the party, because if not, they will just look, as always, disbanded, disgruntled, in a disarray. And I think that that's a big problem that Democrats have. On the other side, you have the Republicans, and on the other side, you have the Republicans who are either 100% loyalty to Trump, and that's it, and that doesn't work either. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. But I think you made a good point, and that is overall, if farmers who were always pro Trump and pro Republican, et cetera, are losing, and people going to the grocery stores are losing, and gas continues to be so high, and the amounts of money that the Trump family is stealing from the Americans is made public more and more and more. The Epstein files, which have not gone away, and then, of course, the war in Iraq, which is depleting everything we have. Yeah. I think that people will say, I've had enough, I'll go with the other side.
I think so, because let me tell you something. Midwest, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, these are Republican, but they're fiercely independent. There is a day, there's not a day that goes by. You have these planter videos showing up that you are, your rights are being eroded. If you criticize Israel, it's against the law. You can end up in prison. I think the Midwest, with the economy the way it is, with kids cannot find jobs, with going entanglement, have had enough to say no, thank you. So I think also, again, each candidate is different. You may have the left going crazy, you can say, but I think it is also to the point that, again, we're going to find out in October. We're going to see where we are by October, I think. If you have a perception when the polls are coming out, when the polls are coming out, no, when the information is coming out, 10% controls 64% of the wealth in this country. When that information comes out, whether you're a farmer, whether you're I don't care, you're a professor, you're a doctor, I don't care. There's a tremendous amount of anger. And I think, depending on state, that anger is sufficient enough to vote some out, because the American public, generally, when they're angry, when they're confused, when they can't control what's going on, they will vote for someone different. It doesn't matter the reason. Right now, you're in a war that you lost. We should have never gone in, but you're going in. You're not coming out. Your economy is not doing well at all. The people who were supposed to defend the liberty are sitting here saying, oh, you're racist, or you don't have the right to talk. You have even their children saying there's a day doesn't go by that says planters are watching you. The ICE agent is everywhere. You say something against the government, you're going to prison. There is a lot of anger. There is a lot of fear. There is a lot of confusion. Generally, in moments like this, particularly if you cannot feed your family, particularly when you are confused, people will vote for anybody that's not in power now.
Yeah.
So I think you will see that. Now, to what extent, it's important. Again, we tend to look at the House and the Senate, but I also tell people, look at local election, local houses, local school boards, local mayors. All of these matters. Of course, with all due respect, Miami is different than Nebraska. North Carolina is different than Los Angeles. All of these matters. But if the war is not resolved by October, I think if the way it is, it's not a Republican Democratic issue, I think we're just going to go, because it does not look good. One moment. Yes, Pam. It's so hot. Is she raising her hand? Are you raising your hand? Not you, Pam. Beatrice, are you raising your hand, or are you just talking?
I'm raising my hand. Sorry.
Okay, Beatrice, you're
Um,
next. I think she's raising her hand.
okay. Um, you know, one of the big issues that I don't think there's either side that is weighing in a way that makes people look to them for an answer is the AI. Why
Yeah.
AI? These neighborhoods and communities around the country, each one that is getting one of these data centers is up in arms. They're
Yes.
taking the water is the
Yeah.
amount of water consumption and electricity consumption is unbelievable with AI. And then, there's just this cavalier talk of loss of jobs and, oh, we'll just have a universal basic income, $1,000 for each person, and that'll solve the problem that nobody has anything to do anymore to work. These are real problems that are coming at us very, very fast, and it doesn't seem like either side has come up with any kind of pragmatic plan to address it. And I think it's going to be a huge issue that's just going to accelerate.
But again, I don't think you're wrong. That's domestic. That's why I think we should look at domestic. In other words, I don't mean domestic as we are domestic. I mean local, right? I think that's local. For me, they're like I was reading about Planter. What was it in Michigan and in not Michigan, Wisconsin, and another place, Rhode Island, that they're removing these cameras because they're arresting people, they're harassing people. So there is a lot of anger on local issues, I think. So we tend to look at the House and the Senate because there's no way we're going to look at local issues of all these states. There's just more than
No,
four
but I'm
dozen
saying that
states.
this isn't really local, because what's happening is these data centers are going up all over the country, and they're making it seem like just a little local problem, but it's actually a national problem
No, no, I
because
understand
it's
that. I understand. But
it's
I
being
think right
disguised
now,
as a local problem.
no, I understand. But right now, it's still being seen as local because people are worried about food on the table and everything else. In 2 years from now, it's going to be a national issue. And I think that is the point. Are the American people angry enough? Because you're not getting water, you're not getting electricity, the food prices are up. You can't afford like 20%. I was listening, I think it was CBS, was it? Again, I was reading the news and it said like 25% of the military can't feed their families. People are relying, the guy was said more than 500% for one of the food banks we have raised. And by the way, both families have income. So that's why they're hoping the kids go back to school. But the problem is the lunch schools have been cut. They cut out free food and such for certain incomes. Meanwhile, you have money for the war. Meanwhile, you have money to give Argentina. Meanwhile, you have money to give Israel. Meanwhile, you have money to give Guatemala. I'm just using as an example. So I think all of these matters. So the election, it's going to be an angry election. Would it lead to a House? Absolutely. Lead to a Senate? I am not sure because you have to flip 4 seats and lose none. But if that is the case, it would be a massive, massive problem for the president. And I think if that were to happen, I probably see him pardoning his children completely. He pardoned his children of all the crimes. He makes a deal with the vice president. Hey, I'm going to resign. You pardon me. And that's the deal is going to be. Because there's no way he will survive a Democratic House and a Senate going after him. It's just, hold it. Beatrice, you have a question? Yeah, hold on.
Beatrice,
Unmute, unmute, unmute. Oh, for God's sake. Unmute.
I am. I did.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think the lack of leadership in the Democratic Party and the division in the Democratic Party is going to increase the abstention during the elections? They are not going to go to the Republicans because they don't like Democrats. I think
I don't think so. I think it's beyond that now. I think it's such an anger right now. It's so much anger that if you're angry at your party, you're going to choose for someone who's not there. You're going to support your party versus the Republican. You're not going to have a Democrat. Very few Democrats are going to vote for a Republican right now. This is not 2024 in which the people voted for Donald Trump. That's done. Remember, the independents allowed President Trump to win and the moderate Republicans. And that was the same with the local elections. So the independents are extremely angry. The young are extremely angry, particularly young men, like my son's friends. they don't have jobs. They can't get jobs. All college educated. They can't find jobs. Some are going back to graduate school.
It seems to me that Republicans are more loyal than Democrats.
You know what? I think you need to redefine Republicans now. I think, look at the MAGA. You have MAGA saying, we're leaving. The Christian MAGA, not the Jewish MAGA. There's a split within a MAGA, the Christian and Judaic MAGA. The significant majority of the Christian MAGA have left. They're like, we're going to come up with my own. We're not going to vote for any of these politicians. And so they're voting for independence. I think it is to the point now that even the Republicans are saying, again, every state is different. What it was in the past, Republicans will vote for a Republican. Maybe, but because they have lost the independence, they have lost the youth, particularly those under, between 18 and 30, it is going to have a massive impact on them, this election. Honestly, the world is watching right now, because no matter what happens, this nation will never be the same after the war, because of this war. But I think the people are way too angry. But let's see October. You could have a moment. I want to pull this back. I see you, Vicky. You could have a moment in which, the president has made a deal with Iran. We're out of the Middle East. We have money coming in. The Strait of Hormuz is open. You could have anything. The Israelis are out and, the jobs are coming in. Okay, you could have that too. But
very unlikely.
I'm just not sure that would even make a difference right now. Because whether it's fair or not, the perception of the president of being able to handle certain factual reality is no longer just among Democrats, but it's among independents and Republicans. Even with his own base, people are saying, you are worried about, the American Act, the Great America Act. You're worried about the ballroom. Hello, can we talk about the war? Can we talk about the economy? Right? Yes, you have the wealthy, the stock market, which, by the way, a lot of hooey with the stock market. You have like 10 companies controlling everything else, right? All on paper. So, let's see. Where did Vicky go? Hold on. Did you move, Vicky?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, sorry.
No, I think going back to the points that Pam made regarding the AI data centers, don't forget they're all being run by the billionaires and this and that. So that's already a negative.
Yeah.
But I think when you look domestically at what Trump is doing within the US, look at all the enemies he's made around the globe. From Canada to Mexico to Brazil. These are all our neighbors. I mean, the other day didn't he just fire missiles or something at a ship from Panama? I mean, you're screwing up Panama and you're using the Panama Canal. I
don't think you should be messing with Panama Canal right now.
Exactly. And I just
don't touch that, baby.
I just wonder, and I said this before in the class, is it so that everything Trump touches, from vaccines to healthcare to the future of the children to the corruption of stealing the money to, digging for oil in, lands of the sacred, to every single, making enemies across the seas, etc. Everything is a negative. And I just look at it to say, his sole reason for being president is to demolish the USA like it has never been before. And that is his OM. I mean, honestly, if you look at everything this man has done, everything is against every single thing except for making 1% of the people wealthier. Everybody else he doesn't give a shit about. It was very evident. If he could fit his fat ass into the catering cart, which I don't believe. And I just think leaving everybody to fucking die. I mean, think about if something had happened. I mean,
the thing
it's just amazing that the cowardice this man shows. And I mean, and what I'm trying to say is, just so I can just end this, everything this man has done has just been to further demolish America. That's it. That's all he's done.
It may have, I don't think that was his intention. I think his intention was not that. He may end up that way. I don't think that was his intention. I don't think that was his intention, with all due respect. I think,
But,
you were not, you did not take my class in FIU then, but we did discuss when it was 2021, 21, 22, and we discussed, we always said, if the Democrats were not gone after him for such a revenge, if they would have let it go, he would not have run for the presidency. I think he ran for the presidency to make sure he wouldn't have gone to jail. Whether you like it or not, it was one of the greatest comeback in American history. You may disagree, you may not like the end result, but the guy won. But I think that is no longer the case. And I want to make this clear. At the end of the day, it is the president. But there's no way you could also ignore those around him. You're in intelligence. You know how the system works. They tell the president, here's a sheet of paper. This is what you need to know. This is what is going on. So I think the problem are the people around him. So for me, I am curious to find out what will happen. Those people around him. Will Hextech stay? The Secretary of War. How long is he going to stay? Because at the end of the day, if you're the military of war, how is it that you don't have food? Even I, a literal analyst, middle of nowhere, even I, that I'm nothing, wrote the article, published the article in January, said your bases are going to be kicked. Our bases are not going to be safe. Get food ready, get supplies. Now you have our great armada. The parents are saying the children don't even have food on this ship, in this magnificent Abraham Lincoln. They don't even have toothpaste. So, and we can bring in supplies because they could get killed. And I'm sitting here going, they've been at that ship for 250 days. Those ships are not trained for that.
More, Mitra. They've been there forever, and they're all going nuts.
Of course, you can't be normal. You have no food. And remember, there's a fascinating, I want ladies and gentlemen to watch it. It was a 15 minutes YouTube. The Navy did it itself. It was about a submarine, and it's underwater submarine. And they were saying they have exactly food for 6 months. They eat the best steak, the best meat, the best food, because you're down there going cuckoo. They have the gym, but could you imagine 5,000 people on top of one another, can't come out to breathe, always down there. They're going local, no food, they're starving. So this Secretary of War is responsible for that. He is responsible for that. If you're the Secretary of War, why don't you have food? You can't have the president run for him either. You got to say you're the Secretary of War. So my question becomes, is he going to stay? Or is he going to leave? Because if he is relieved, that will signal to the international community, certainly to the Iranians, okay, this is a different ball game. The Shmagegi has to go. Max, I'm sorry. Did you have a comment, Max? Max? Oh, 1 minute.
Yeah, Mitra.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I
Can you hear me?
apologize. Go ahead. Yes, I can hear you.
No, that's okay. I had to comment agreeing with what Vicky was saying about the Democratic Party and how chaotic their policies are.
Yes.
But I think that they won't have a single policy until they get a national leader. And I think the current leaders of the House and the Senate for the Democrats, Hussein and Schumer, are happy with this, that they're letting people say whatever they like in their particular jurisdiction, and if they can win the nomination, they will support them. So you have this policy all over the place, and I think what they're saying is, if that guy can win, and he's a Democrat, and we understand the anti-Trump vote out there, we have a good chance of winning anywhere we've put a nominee in who was elected by the local people.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
I think they're relying on that.
Yeah, you have an excellent point. You have an excellent point. But I also believe when the election is done, you will not have Schumer or Hakeem in the position. I don't think Schumer, or excuse me, Hakeem will keep his position. There's tremendous amount of anger towards Hakeem in the, and Schumer. They said Schumer is way too old. He needs to go.
Yeah.
He's not really a Democrat. He votes for the Republicans. And same with Hakeem. I am not sure whether they win or
Are they
lose.
not already grooming somebody to replace them?
I'm sure. I'm sure they already have two other people. I'm sure
The
there's a lot
senator
of,
from Hawaii,
there's a
the
lot of
Democratic
backroom
senator.
dealings now. I'm sure there's a lot of backroom dealings going on. I mean, I'm not in that system. I'm sure there's a lot of backroom dealing now.
Yeah.
A lot is going on, but this is an extremely, I mean, fascinating time. And I think when I look, I mean, we're going from also, but when I look at domestically, and you have a situation in which the great military, which by the way is running out of missiles, which we said in this house. Remember, what did we say in January? I said,
Yes.
you all, we don't have
That's
enough missiles. They're going to kick our ass all the way to Uganda. I said our spider web is going to be destroyed. So if I knew that, there is no way in hell, the military did not know. So the
that's the
question is,
anger
why?
against Trump.
It's
That's
not
the
so much
anger against Trump.
right, but the question is, I
Right.
think the
And that's
president
what the
doesn't want
Democrats
that
are
anger.
relying on. That's what
Right,
they're
but
relying on.
right, the
So,
information he relied, his Secretary of State, his Secretary of War, the head of the CIA, his Chief of Staff, and look who
yeah.
is now the Attorney General. I think you are to the point right now that the president needs a way out. The problem for the president is the first thing he needs to do is decide what's best, the security of Israel or the security of the United States. Because right now, whether you like it or not, I guarantee you, if you ask Americans, I will guarantee you 2/3 would say his security right now is the concern of Israel rather than the US. So it may not be fair. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
I get that. But it's the
Yeah. Yeah.
perception. It's the perception.
But that's
So
the anger in the American population. I
yes,
understand that.
yeah. So
Yeah. And
exactly, why are
that's
we in
what the
this hellhole
Democrats
of
are
a region
relying on.
again? Why are we in this hellhole of a region again? And for me,
Yeah.
I think the Iranian. We're just going to discuss this briefly because we have a lot of foreign policy to go through. We have to. I can't take. I mean, as much as I love the countries Iran, but even I am going up to here. You know what I'm saying? As much as it's a lovely country, I respect it tremendously. Yada yada yada. But the Iranians did make changes to their, not all of the changes. They put some leadership in their military brigadier generals and generals. And let me put it this way, ladies and gentlemen, the people Iran has put in, these people don't play. That is the signal by Iran. The old time is gone. It's payback time. They are going to hit us hard. They're not going to have any mercy. And I think the perception of the Iranian is that we are not dealing with the US. Everything is run from Israel. And the fact, I think, when Mr. Netanyahu pretty much came up yesterday or day before, I mean, it depends because of this, time zone. I don't know, whatever, day before yesterday, whatever it is, basically told the president, nope, I don't have to listen to you about the 15-point peace plan of Gaza. I don't have to do anything. He basically bitch slapped the president of the United States. The president went in for Netanyahu. He went in and he basically turned around and says, I don't have to listen to you. I could do what I want. Well, okay, when you behave like this, you are feeding the mindset that it's Jerusalem that runs American foreign policy. It's the Zionists that run foreign policy. They're not loyal Americans because the only ones that are pushing for this war is them. So I think a combination of that, which I just don't know what Netanyahu was thinking. I mean, for God's sake, at least publicly say the president has a good point. At least publicly. That one between the Iranians bringing these old, I don't mean old, I don't mean like that, generals, that is telling me, ladies and gentlemen, the military could get ugly. Remember, if you look at this fort thus far, the war is 6 months. That was supposed to be 1 week. Remember, 6 days we overthrow. We didn't. There's going to be a coup. We didn't. The coups are in Middle East. We're going to get rid of the nuclear issues. We didn't get rid of the nuclear issues. The Strait of Hormuz was open. Now it's closed. So everything we said didn't come. And so you have this scenario right now in which what you're beginning to see is that it has become very clear within the Islamic world, within the Arab world, what we have been saying in this class minimum for 4 years, the arrival of a new Asiatic Islamic-led order and the end of the Arab influence. I mean, the fact that 2 days ago, I like to call it AIR, which is Ankara, Islamabad, and Riyadh, basically came out with this concept of Islamic NATO, right? I have to stop laughing for 20 minutes. I have to admit, I couldn't stop laughing for 20 minutes. Islamic NATO, okay? The so-called Islamic NATO, they were saying that we're going to unite all for one and one for all. But that's rubbish, right? It's rubbish, and I'm going to tell you momentarily why. Because, first of all, I'm sure you guys know much more than I do what NATO was if you attack. This system is not set up that way. Second, the Arab countries already have something like that. Remember last year they signed it and nobody came to anybody's defense. Number three is because Turkey ain't going to die for no Arab. Please. They ain't going to die for no Arab. Turkey is there to unload its arms. And last is because Pakistan is on China's court. In other words, its tail is stuck to Chinese dragon. So it just wants to be seen as this, woohoo, I have the deal with the United States here. I'm the peacemaker. But it's not an Islamic NATO. Nobody's going to die for nothing. They're not going to die for Saudi Arabia. As a matter of fact, you have 10,000 soldiers, Pakistani soldiers on the bases and on Saudi Arabia. And so when they were hit, if you recall, the American bases were hit, the Saudi oil factors were hit. MBS asked Pakistan, why aren't you defending? And the Pakistanis were like, bro, I'm not going to go to die for you. I'm just here as an external actor. But it is a signal, ladies and gentlemen, it is a signal that the leadership of these Arab countries have moved on. They realize they cannot rely on the United States. Is this an Arab NATO? Of course not. Is it going to fail? Of course. And for the South, in the case of MBS, it's only there to tell its people, look, I'm staying, I'm not relying on the Americans, and I have the Islamic Sunni world. They're like, yeah, bro, beat it, right? So it is done. The Middle East, as we know it, it's done. Now, the president could utilize this lovely fact, say, listen, the Arab countries' leaders are going, Bahrain is finished, King Abdullah, I give a couple of more months, MBS, as soon as the old man is like that, a couple of months after he's kaput, right? It is a good opportunity for the president to step aside. But the reality is that this war permanently altered the geography of the Middle East because it realigned, right? It realigned the nation states in many ways, ladies and gentlemen. And you're going to think I'm crazy. That's nothing new. Obviously, if you thought I was normal, I wouldn't be taking my class. So you are going to see massive changes in Jordan, in, as we said, Saudi Arabia. But there's 3 areas you are not all paying attention. I don't mean you, it's not. Number one is Iraq and Kuwait. There is a possibility that the Iraqis will extend into Kuwait. Do you understand? They will go into to Kuwait and take part of the territory. And there's also 2 areas. It is not being looked at. It's really being overlooked. But my advice, if I was parking my ass in the Knesset, I will be looking at 2 areas. The Jordanian-Israeli border and the Syrian-Israeli border. And so the Israelis have Mr. Giuliani on a payroll for 14 years, right? And they went in and they're in there, right? They're in there because Giuliani's on their payroll. Mr. Islamist terrorist is on their payroll. Great. But there is a massive movements and they're being armed by Iran via Iraq, via Lebanon, and all those groups that worked with Giuliani, but they were betrayed, are pushing towards the Israelis. They are being planted. There is going to be a moment, ladies and gentlemen, that the Israelis will find themselves being attacked from not just Lebanon, they just keep bombing, from Syria and simultaneously from Jordan. I'm not talking about necessarily the Jordanian government, but the tribes are going in. You have Iraqi fighters whose cousins are in Jordan moving in that Jordan-Israeli border. Remember, the tribes control the road. You will see there are plans to expand from Syria, from Jordan, from Lebanon into Israel. So it's not like Israel is coming in. They're going to go out because Israel right now has lost the war. It doesn't have the manpower, it doesn't have the military power. It relies on the United States. So it's running in a war with Iran. It's in a war with, you're just killing Palestinians, you're just shooting Palestinians left and right, but they have no arms. And you have the crisis in Lebanon, just killing, thinking it's going to end. But Israel is not getting rid of those weapons. It's not getting rid of those missiles. It has the Houthis. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I mean realignment in the Middle East, I'm not just talking Saudi Arabia. I'm not just in Bahrain. I'm not just in Kuwait. I will see the possibility from Lebanon to Syria to Jordan and from the Houthis going in and literally pushing Israelis to the 1967 war. They just don't have the military capability of fighting 5 simultaneous lands at the same time. You can air, but their air defenses are limited now because they ran out of Patriot missiles. They only have so many. You can fight. You don't have the international community on your side. Israel has become the pariah of the world, with the exception of certain countries in the United States and a handful of Western leaders. And I am telling you, when all is done, you could see the possibility of all of them going in because they are using the same roads, the same geography, the same methods that the Jordanians and the Syrian used to attack Iraq and vice versa to try to do over the Assad. So I will see. When I mean realignment, I mean a total realignment. A total realignment. And so if you are Israel and you're worried about Mr. Netanyahu's election and all of that, yeah, internally, as Brian said last week, forget it. I don't even know what that means anymore. But externally, there is going to be a time, not too distant future, that they will be attacked by all sides, and they will not be able to do it because they expect the Syrian government to be on their side. But it's not the Syrian government that's going to do it because Mr. Giuliani himself may not be live long enough. Yes, Pam. Pam? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. My question is, do you see any indication that there's a plan for all of this chaos in the Middle East in terms of the reorganization? I mean, of course, I guess getting rid of Israel is one of the plans, but that doesn't seem that possible. Is there any kind of prediction
Yeah, I see
you
what
could
you're saying.
make?
So
Or
first of all, nobody's going to get rid of Israel. Where's Israel's going to go? Guatemala? Where's it going to
exactly.
go? Guatemala? It's like you can't go like that, but you can be forced back to 1967 borders. Israel of the past is not the Israel of today. No one has respect for Israel. Whether you think it's fair or not, I understand that. So that is going to be a line. That Middle East, as we know it, it's gone. It's never going to come back again. And remember, for years we have been saying it's the Chinese, Iranian, Russian alliance. If you look at the power players involved, the Iranians are doing the fighting, the Chinese are providing the money, and the Russians are, along with the Chinese, are providing the intelligence on the top. For China, what you're big, and I'm going to say this again, they are implementing steps to go back to 9th century, literally, when the Abbasid, the Tang, and the Dang dynasty united and created this economic Silk Road. And that is the intention of China. Economic development, economic Asiatic Islamic order. And I think what the Iranians are saying and what they are telling their tribes in Saudi Arabia that are helping Iran, in Jordan that are helping Iran, in Bahrain, although they're not tribes, bro, it's this American-Israeli war is not benefiting anyone. Let's just make money and let's go back to 13, 12 centuries ago, in which we all made money. We all made money. We were an empire. We had defense. We had everything you want. Let's do that. And I think they are able to do that. But to have that, you have to blow up the old order. And the old order is being blown up as we speak. The question becomes, to what extent, right? From a military perspective, United States lost this war. We told you, it's an economic war of attrition. The Iranians' intention wasn't to destroy the US militarily, but economically. And they have done that. Doesn't mean they got off scot-free, but you're talking about a country that's used to sanctions for 46 years. We're not. We can't handle what the Iranians handled for 46 years. I mean, the fact that, like, literally 9 out of 10 of Iranians are saying, build the bomb and just get it over with, right? And go finish them off, says a lot to me. So you have this moment, ladies and gentlemen, that this region is shifting, whether we like it or not. The question, however, becomes, what is United States going to do about it? How is the United States going about it? If I were the president of the United States, for the lack of a better term, I would say, bro, I have already lost. Go to the American public, say I was misinformed. I apologize. Let's move on. Here's your money, the Iranians. Here's what we took from you. Here are the cockamamie sanctions. But I would rebuild Iran for them. But then say, listen, rather than rebuilding, why can't I rebuild with you? Do what the Chinese did with the Iranians in 8th century, in which they told the Iranians, you won, but let's unite. If it's good enough for the Chinese and the Iranians, why can't it be good enough for us and the Iranians? We're no worse than the Chinese. God knows we're smart. I mean, you know. So why not? But it'll be interesting to see. But right now, this game they're playing every day, the Houthis are shooting. Look what's happening. The Houthis are blowing up 3 ships. You have the situation in Yemen. The Houthis just went every day, hitting the Saudi oil tankers, hitting the Saudi bases, which, ladies and gentlemen, they would not be able to do with them tribes without the information of the tribes. Somebody's helping them Houthis on the ground. They have the best technology. They have the best, missile, but somebody's giving them the information. Their mishbucha across the border is telling them, go to the left, go to the right. So it has to be there. But at the end of the day, you need to separate also the Israeli crisis from the American crisis. For us, the jig is up pretty much. Before I move away from Middle East by the grace of God, is there any questions or comment? Louis, Max, Brian, you said nothing today. Carmen, nada? Nothing? Nothing, Brian? Nothing.
Okay, I'll ask a question.
Bless you. I should charge more because I'm always talking.
Your idea about Jordanians and Syrians invading Israel is pretty outrageous.
I know.
And so I will ask an outrageous question.
Absolutely.
Can you be a Zionist and accept the 1967 borders if all you want is an Israeli homeland and you're guaranteed peace in the Middle East?
Yeah.
Can you still be a Zionist and say, okay, we're going to accept what the Syrians and the Jordanians want for that peaceful homeland?
Yeah. So first of all,
that's what they did in 1948
right.
in accepting the UN resolution. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the key.
That's what the Zionists agreed to.
Yeah, exactly. So excellent point, Max. So first of all, I didn't say necessarily the government. I said the public. What I'm trying to tell you is this. What I am seeing is movements. Listen, I don't go through traditional Western media. You know that for information. What I'm seeing is that the same roads that were used, the same tribal information that we used to overthrow Assad, now it's being used this way. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you look at Syria, I mean, do you really have the Syrian government in charge? Is Mr. Giuliani really in charge? Not necessarily per se, of his own neighborhood. Yes, maybe. And in the case of Jordan, I didn't say the current Jordanian government. If you look at the border, there are a lot of those, what do they call it? there won't be the thing in the Israeli part, the settlers. Thank you. There's a lot of settlers there. So when you have the Jordanians, if they're armed, if they go in, their confusion in, they're going to go in. I didn't say the Jordanian military. I didn't say the Syrian government. But if you have all of these people that Israel was supporting, they have all the information now, and they're going in, you are beginning to see that they're just setting up certain things. And so is it outrageous? Yes. But then again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm beginning to see that. I am beginning to see steps that are being taken by the tribes, by the, by the military individuals who are saying no to their king, who are saying no to Mr. Jelani. You're seeing border movement. You're seeing tribes moving this way. And so is it outrageous? Yes. But then again, may I remind you, I'm not saying I'm correct. 9 months ago, I said, hey, if the war in 3 weeks, we're going to lose, and you all laugh, and I wasn't wrong then. So I'm not saying it's going to happen here necessarily, but I'm beginning to see that. And I think in the case of the Zionists, once you lose, what choice do you have? What choice do you have? Zionism is equivalent to terrorism now. You may disagree, but that is the perception. When you have pictures of coming out of all these settlers and all these Zionists, spitting at the Jerseys, raping children, whatever, certain barbarities, and they feel it's okay if I do it, right? You have that. I don't think they have a choice. You lose all international support. And so I think it is to that point that they will not have necessarily a choice if that were to happen. If that were to happen, they would not have a choice. But again, that what I see right now is that I'm not going to say it's happening next week of that. If you are internally imploding, if you are externally losing the war, but you lie to your public, we're defeated Iran, we defeated Hezbollah, BS. If you have all of these wars going and internally, your house is weak. You cannot have that. Just because you have Israeli soldiers in Syrian territory with the people you bought, that doesn't mean the people you bought are not going to be bought by someone else. That's all I'm saying. I'm beginning to see that. So for me, if I were the Israelis, you need to pull back. You need to straighten out your home. You have the crisis in Lebanon. You just keep bombing, and their only ally was United States. And the American public, 2/3 of them want cut off all aid to Israel, or
Absolutely.
most of it, or saying we went to war. You lost the U.S. That's the reality. And without the U.S., the Israelis don't have a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
So I think you need to remember that. But by the way, I'm not saying tomorrow morning that's going to happen. Please don't come and say, Mitchell, saying I'm going to invade tomorrow. I'm just saying the steps that's going there. And the weaker Israel becomes from the center, the weaker it becomes externally. You can't fire. It's sort of like you're trying to put out 10 fires when you only have 3 firemen. This is what I see right now. Ooh, that's not a bad analogy. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. I hope that answered that. So I hope I answered that. Yes, Carmen.
How do you see a little bit more, if you can give us, on the Israeli election coming up?
Oh my God. You know what? I would love to have the class opinion on that. I would love to hear Brian. From what I understand, and I think because I read Jerusalem Post and I have to read Israeli Times, which is all the way to the right, but I also read, the Haaretz. I think there is a growing concern among the population that it may not be fair, it may be stolen. And I think people need to realize, for me, it doesn't matter if Netanyahu wins or loses. The people who are running are even more, some call them barbaric than Netanyahu. One of the gentlemen who's running, I forgot his name, he says, oh, I don't care if I kill these people. But the question for me, I am to the point, and from the global south, when I look at the global south perspective and I look at certainly their intelligence and the think tanks and their leadership, for them, it doesn't matter who runs. It is irrelevant. The issue is not Netanyahu. The issue is Israel and its population who's supporting. When you have 80% of the people saying we support going to the war, we support these things, it really does not matter. We tend to think that, oh, if Netanyahu leaves, you're going to have a different person, more liberal. The damage is done. No matter who comes in, the damage is done. You are never going to forget all of that. Now, you may have someone who's more realistic. Now, I have to admit, if you have a general, is there a general running who's more realistic and says, bro, we lost, we stink, I apologize, the settlers have no power, they got to go, then you may be, because if it's military, the international community generally thinks to see when it comes to this region, regardless of the country, well, you have the military's charge. They're not so religious crazy. You know what I'm saying? But unless it's that, and I perhaps Brian or Ralph know more than I do, or even Beatrice more than I do, I don't think any military candidate is running. But for Israel is also, there is no constitution. You all better come up with some kind of a constitution. If you had that constitution, you wouldn't be in this mess now. So, I mean, I would love to throw that back at the class. I would love to know what Brian or Ralph think about the election. I would love to know. Nothing. Nothing. Really? Nothing. I'm going to rate I'm going to increase my rate, bro. I mean, really, none of you all? Nothing. I know some of you all have visited Israel at least once in your lifetime.
Yes.
So some of our friends are actually so committed to this that they're flying to Israel to vote. And
why would they do that? They have it at the embassy. You could vote at the embassy, right? I think you could vote at Miami Beach.
Israel. No, they're not here. They live in Philadelphia, but they're flying to. So they're Israelis, and so
well, I figured that.
Yeah. So what we haven't had a chance, we're waiting till we see them in person in October to hear kind of what they're thinking, because we've approached very carefully because they had family killed October 7th and all that.
No, you got to be complete. Listen, on both sides, I always say, when you're at war, like when they killed, I have family members when they attacked Iran, I have family members who died in the American-Israeli bombing. So you got to be extremely careful. I understand that. But I don't think you have to go, right? I mean, I'm not mistaken. You can vote in the Israeli embassy if you have their citizenship. Not everybody could vote. If you have the Israeli passport, you can vote. But not every American Jewish person has an Israeli passport.
No, of course not.
Well, these are Israelis, but they're
they're Israelis. They're Israeli Americans.
Yeah,
okay.
They're Israeli Americans. So
Okay.
they're flying home. They're not taking any chances.
I'm curious to find out because what airline they going, because there's virtually no airlines flying into that region. A lot of the planes have been canceled, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, they're back on, right? Because I know like a lot of that region for months they were canceled and they don't want to go back because they're afraid it's going to start again. So when is the exactly election date? October, I think it's end of October, like a week before American election. Isn't it October 27th?
Yeah, we're seeing them October 21st, and they fly out the next day, and they're going to be there for some time. But
yeah, because October 27, I think. October 27, if somebody could Google it just to be sure. I think October 27th is, I know it's about a week before American election. And I did that checking because I was curious to find out if you're an American Jewish person, if you could vote for an Israeli election. But I found out only if you have their passport. So you have a right to return, but that doesn't mean you can vote. If you have an Israeli passport, you can vote, but not if you don't have an Israeli passport.
It is October 27th.
Yeah, but just about it before. Before I leave Middle East, any questions or comment? Nothing. Okay, so thank you so much for that one. But I told my audience before, since this is the last class, the last half hour, I am throwing it into the audience. We could discuss whatever ever you want. Nothing.
What do you think is the timetable for MDS in Saudi?
Right. So MBS is interesting. This was the last. So when he did the Islamic so-called NATO, which I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, oh my God, such an oxymoron, sort of like a, military intelligence. You can't get any more oxymoron than that. He's a desperate attempt to try to show to the tribes that, hey, I'm here. But the problem with the MBS is he has broken the covenant. He has flat ass broke the country. No money's coming in. He has a lot of people say it's payback time. But right now, they can't touch the old man because his old man is alive. If the old man would pass away, let's say tomorrow, I wouldn't give him more than 3 months. Unless something dramatic happens, which I don't see that. Unless he says, the Americans are out, I made a deal with China, I made a deal with Iran. Okay, but I don't see that happening because he made a deal with Turkey, right? I don't see that happening. So I don't give it more than 3 months after his father passes away, because he has eradicated every element that supported him. He needed to understand it was tribes or a pillar, right? He tried to be an autocrat, but believe it or not, tribal leadership is very democratic in many ways because everybody has a voice. So he removed it, but it was those people who held up the pillar. So he's gone. So same thing with King Abdullah. If you look at King Abdullah, last week you had 400 top scholars and individuals and leaders saying, kick out the Americans. Now, he didn't. And why is that important? Because those people knew they're not going to kick him out. What King Abdullah did was interesting. He went in and saw all the tribal elders, all the Hawitat, the Bani Hassan, which is, the Miliman, the Bani Ahmad, which is the tribe of his stepbrother's wife, the Bani Sakar. And he said, they have their support, we give you the support. The problem with that was that those tribal elders are the same ones that are telling the GID, which is the intelligence, the tribal army, to step aside, do not necessarily listen to the king. And they're the ones who control the roads. And so the elders are basically saying, if you want to come from UAE to Jordan or from Saudi Arabia to Jordan, you have to go through their territory. And they're trailing their various tribes, there's various clans in the tribes. Don't get them through. Don't take it to the Americans. Don't get the waters. And then they control the electricity, the water. So when King Abdullah came up and said, yes, everything is okay, I have the tribes, people were like, what are you talking about? If you had the tribal support, you would have the electricity, you would have the water, you would have the roads open. None of that is there, which set the signal to those who also watch it of two things. Either the tribes just told him what he wanted to hear, or the elders, the really elders, are not being listened to now then. And the second and the third level of the younger generations are saying, forget it, we're not letting go. We are not letting go because he broke the covenant. And once you break that covenant, you have no choice. So it's the same thing with King Abdullah. Bahrain, you have the king of Bahrain, for the emir, whatever you want to call it, the prince, whatever you want to call it. He's basically in charge of Manaba. All the external cities are run independently now by various groups, Shiite groups. So they're there. The United States had to pull out, like we said, because all of them have become the eyes and ears for Iran. We tried to send the ship there again, and the Iranians hit it. And they didn't just hit Bahrain. They said they hit outskirts of Manama and where we used to see. So I don't see when MBS tried to come up, and this was his last step by saying, I have Turkey and Pakistan, I'm still powerful. But they were like, bro, what Islamic NATO? Turkey just basically came up and says, I want to sell my arms. Pakistan is time to China. He has to go. He made a lot of enemies. And remember, at the end of the day, these are tribes that live by ancient law, and ancient law demands revenge. He killed a lot of people. He tortured a lot of tribal leaders. They didn't forget. Any questions? China, anything? Ralph, nothing? You can ask anything you want.
Yeah,
I had a question.
do
Oh,
you
go ahead.
feel bad about Joe Biden?
Yes.
Oh, he had, look, I don't wish bad on anyone. Unfortunately, he has, I think his cancer is worse, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't feel, listen, you can't wish, listen, no. But the
And
question does
bad
become,
Hunter Biden, that's for sure.
the question becomes, however, uh, maybe, like I said, if he would have stepped aside 2 years ago, 2 years prior to Kamala, you would have a different president right now. You would
Yeah,
not be here. But
that's what I'm about.
he should have stepped aside 2 years ago. But whether it was the wives telling him you can stay or whatever, history will tell us what will happen. Some of them are already blaming the wives that say she didn't want to remove the power, she wanted the prestige, and she held them on. But we shall see. We shall see. Yes, Pam.
Okay. I'm just trying to reverse my thing here. Sorry.
That's okay.
My question is,
Oh, there you go.
we touched on it. We touched on it briefly, which was the missiles that we're having a shortage of, which,
Yeah.
from my understanding, are take a long time to replace, years.
2 years. 2 years for
You know,
Patriot missiles. If everything
yeah.
goes
So
well.
if everything goes well, so what kind of risk are we at as a country? I mean, we mentioned so many things that are going downhill from Donald Trump, but to me, one of the worst ones is the security of our country.
Oh,
If these
absolutely.
missiles. So what kind of, a risk are we at here?
Well, so let me make that very clear. 63% of every military missile, airplane, or whatever component comes from China, right? So when 2, 3 weeks ago we discussed when China hit the train road that connects Iran and China and Turkmenistan, the Chinese didn't forgive that. They made sure nothing was coming out of their ports. So when they say, the president says, I'm giving orders to the military industrial complex, to make these missiles, mazel tov, where are you all going to get the parts? Where are you going to get the raw material? When 2/3, like 63% almost, comes from China, one way or another, whether it's through Chinese ports, whether it's through Chinese, when you reconfirm it to whatever you need it to be, you have a problem. Right now, remember, I said, heaven forbid, how many times I said, if the Russians, because we don't discuss Ukraine, Vicky and I vehemently disagree on this. Vicky thinks Russia is being destroyed, Ukraine is winning. I'm the opposite. I think Ukraine is kaput, you know. But nonetheless, the Russians are in Ukraine, the Iranians are in Middle East, and the Chinese are standing there. And we cannibalized Asia. We took from Korea, we took from Taiwan, THAAD system and our Patriot missile to give to Israel or to fight ourselves. We don't have enough protection. If there is a war, we can't necessarily defend. We don't have enough. That is one of the reasons we cannot win militarily, because we do not have access to the materials to replenish. World War II, we did everything ourselves. Korea, Vietnam, we lost. I get it. Okay? But we had this stuff ourselves. We built it ourselves. We're not building that. People do not understand. When Iran, remember we did the interview, remember March 15 with Vicky? We did the interview. We said, it was 2 weeks after the war. We said, within 2 weeks, Iran had wiped out 1/3 of our entire THAAD system. 1/4 of our entire Patriot missiles already gone. So if you are doing that and you have to cannibalize, you are in a massive trouble. So if I am sitting here, the president of the United States, and my secretary of war lied to me, utilized it and said, he lied. He lied to you. No one says the president is not guilty for that sense. But if the information they give you is a lie, then bro, remove his ass. Remember, General King came up and said 3 days ago, this is no military solution. That's basically telling you all, the jig is up. So we want to put economic hardship because we can't control Strait of Hormuz. We're not allowing anything to go through. They're going through. The Chinese are going through. The Russians are going through. By the way, they're going through the road that comes from China, India, and Pakistan. You don't think the Iranians talk about that? They could handle it. We cannot. And so I think the American people are much worse off than they think. I see you, Vicky. Much worse off than they think. I think we're much worse off. And God forbid if there's a war, because yes, this is a war with Iran. But let's be honest. it's not as, thank God, it's not as bad as, the real one that could explode to hell. Yes, Vicky. Okay, I'm going. No, you're on mute.
Sorry. No, I just find it interesting because you said everything is based on a lie, that people are lying to Trump and this and that. But in actuality, I don't know if they're lying to Trump or if Trump is just lying to himself and to the American people, because you cannot be sheltered from all the information out there. And this guy is constantly watching TV and looking at social media, etc. So I just think they're all delusional and in la la land, because if they really think that, and I find it interesting that now Iran said, oh, well, we're not even going to deal with America until Trump is gone.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, this is the power. This is the power they have. They can just say, excuse my French, fuck off. We're not even going to listen to you. Don't even talk to us right now. We'll talk to you when this idiot is gone. Think about the power of that. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. And you know what's amazing? It's that I'm sitting here, and I think I skipped that. I thank you for reminding. I apologize for that. I forgot that. I think the fact that Iran said that and then brought all of those people that have no mercy in power and says, we don't care where we're going to hit, forget about the civilian rule per se, says a lot. But I have to a little bit disagree with you, Vicky, because you know a million times better than I do. When your intelligence, they give you a briefing of 2 hours, Mr. President, here it is. He's on social media, but he only sees certain things. And if you're on Newsbacks and if you're on Fox and they're telling you what you want to hear all the time, then he's only reading those. His circle is extremely small. So I don't know what they're telling. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, if you have the Secretary of War, who many, we cannot forget, who forced a lot of people to retire, who disagree with him, that tells me he is responsible. When you have mothers on social media saying, my kid can't even get a toothpaste, or he weighs size 0 now, for lack of a better term, because he cannot get food. I don't like, I live on the beach. I don't like to be on a cruise line because I'm afraid. Imagine being on that ship for, I don't know, 9 months, not being able to go anywhere, not being able to do anything. You're eating this much food a day. Could you imagine the psychological impact? And by the way, these are not 25, 30-year-old, 40 people. These are 18, 19-year-old kids. Could you imagine that? 19-year-old being stuck on a ship, can't go anywhere, can't handle it. So I think that secretary, if the president would step up and said, I've got rid of my Secretary of War, my God, I am sure there are enough Secretary of War in this country that could give him an advice. I got rid of my head of the CIA. I have a brand new one. Look what Reagan did, remember? Look what happened. Got a brand new staff. You guys remember the Iran-Contra hearings? Came in, brought Baker came in, got rid of all your staff. New people came in. And by the time he left, after the Iran-Contra hearing, he was the most popular president since FDR. He had the Iran-Contra hearings. You guys remember? I remember I was watching that. I was glued to the Oliver North being on it. I remember that. So he got rid of the staff. He played it smart. And what happened? By the time he left, he was the most popular president since FDR. President Trump is different, and I respect that. I get that. But at least get rid of it, change the topic, said I did it, bringing a new staff, and say, bring in the old guard. I mean, I'm sure this country has enough people to dig up somebody. Right? Louis, any comment? Nothing. Pia, nothing. Carmen, nothing. Ralph, nothing. Nothing? Really? You know, you people paid for a fee, but I don't recall.
I'll ask a question, Mitra.
I'm gonna charge you people. I swear to God, I'm gonna raise my rates. I mean, geez. I mean, if I was at home, I could say martini. I'm
Oops, what
sorry.
happened?
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Brian. I apologize for that. Because this is your last day. So go ahead, Brian. It's
Yeah.
your day. You could talk anything you want, even the latest movie. I don't care. It's your day.
I'll stick with the Zionist theme today.
Oh, for God's
Uh,
sake. Okay. Yep, no.
if you were to ask Stephen Miller,
Oh, Jesus.
what
Oh,
is an American? I
oh,
think you get a very different answer than if you were to ask Abdul al-Sayed in Michigan.
huh.
And I wonder, when it comes to the Israelis, if you were to ask them, what is a Zionist?
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that question, and maybe you can help us out.
Yeah.
Can you be a Zionist and think that what's happened in Gaza is genocide? Can you be a Zionist and think that settlements in the West Bank are wrong? Can you be a Zionist and accept a two-state solution? Or is it, if you're a Zionist, it's river to sea, Israel is the only legitimate country in that
No,
whole neighborhood?
Right.
no.
Who is that? Is that Pia? Is that Pam? Who's talking? Beatrice, is that you saying no?
Monique.
Where are you, Monique? I don't see you. Go ahead, Monique. You can
She's on the
respond. Go ahead,
iPhone.
Monique.
She's on the iPhone one, the one that says iPhone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
Monique, go ahead.
I think that you must, if Israel is going to survive, it has to accept maybe not a two-state solution, but some kind of solution. It has to accept that it is genocide what's happening, and that's all I have to say. I mean, I don't think Zionism is exclusive of reality.
Right.
There's
I
no
think Monique,
genocide in Israel. This is
There's no
Max.
genocide. There's no
There's no
genocide. Well,
genocide. No genocide in Gaza.
that you don't consider ethnically cleansing 2 million people and killing 100,000 people by bombs simply because you don't like the
No,
government as
no,
genocide, Max?
it's not. It's not genocide.
Then what is it?
what is it?
It's just war. That's what happens in a war. If anybody's committing genocide in Gaza, it's Hamas.
I see. So then in World War II, what they killed when they did that to 12 million people, 6 million Jews, it wasn't a Holocaust. It was just war, right?
It was a Holocaust.
Ah, so there's one law for what
And
happens and
what's
one
the
law for
difference?
someone else.
What's the difference?
Exactly.
Now,
They're both genocide.
let me ask you this.
Difference, Max, is
How
when
many
Wait a
Jews
minute, one at a time, Max. Go ahead, Max. I'm sorry.
how many Jews lived in Poland in August of 1939 before the war broke out?
You tell me you have all the
3
answers.
million.
Okay.
3 million.
Okay.
I think approximately.
Right.
How many Jews lived in Poland in August of 1945 and the war was over?
How many?
About 100,000.
Right. So how were they
Now
killed? In
now you got
concentration camps.
just a sec. You got rid of 97% of the Jewish population in Poland over the term of that war. Jews were killed in other countries by the Nazis, and it was Nazi policy. If a Nazi found a Jew, they told him they're taking him to a camp or they're going to kill him, and that was it. That's what genocide is.
But you
It
have
is
that in
a wish.
Palestine. You have that in Gaza.
Just a sec. It is a wish and intent to kill the population. Now, Hamas has in its agenda a wish to kill Israelis. It said Jews at one time and changed it to Israelis because they were criticized for being ethnic attackers, but it didn't change their tactics or what they intended to do. Israel does not kill Arabs. It does not kill Palestinians. it defends itself, and it has no intent on killing Palestinians. It has intent in killing Hamas. Now, I want to. Hamas put the population of Gaza in front of them after attacking on October 7th. And they retreated, went into the tunnels, and put the aprons of their mothers in front of the coming Israelis. And they didn't give a damn who was being killed. I never heard once that after the Israelis said they're going to bomb a particular area, I never heard once of Hamas bringing Gazans into the tunnels for their protection. They kept they kept them out
Max,
there.
Stop a minute.
Just a sec, let me finish. I'll say one more statement.
Sure.
If Israel was intent on killing Gazans,
Yeah.
the way the Nazis killed Jews,
Yes.
that gave rise to the term genocide,
Yes.
they would have killed 1 million Gazans by now.
Okay.
They
so
could
let me
have
tell
shot
you,
them down, but they did not
they
bomb.
have done that, Max.
They did not bomb
They did
Gazans.
that.
They bombed Hamas.
Okay. So
And
Max,
Hamas
now it's
hid
my
in the
turn.
tunnel.
Max, it's my
They
turn.
hid in the tunnel.
Max,
Israel does
it's
not.
my turn.
Israel
Max,
does
it's my
not
turn.
have.
Max,
Just a sec.
Okay.
Genocide has an element to it that you're missing, and that is intent. And Israel has no intent on killing Gazans.
Okay. So Max,
If it intended to kill Gazans the
Okay.
way Nazis killed Jews,
Okay,
there
so
would
let me
be
tell you
a
why you're
million
wrong.
dead Gazans.
Okay,
So
Max,
let's get that right.
Okay, so let me tell you
Yeah.
why you're wrong on every level.
I'm
First
not
of all,
wrong.
no. So listen. I listen to you. Now you listen to me. So first of all, they did ethnically cleanse, because when you bomb women and children, when you bomb UN centers, when you bomb refugee camps, there are no Hamas people there. As a matter of fact, it was the Israelis who put their security centers in population areas. You're ethnically cleansing. When you have member of your own parliament saying we are going to kill Palestinians, such as Ben Gvir was a member, because we want to
They could have
ethnically
killed
erase. Max,
97% of the
Max, I
Gazan
gave you. Max,
population
you have to let me
if they
finish.
intended to.
Max, you have to let me finish. You're not going to change facts. You could say, I'm not going to here to change your mind. I cannot change your mind because you have a set mind. I am just telling you what the world sees. I cannot change your mind. You are set that way. But I will tell you these things why you are wrong and why people think you're wrong. You don't have to accept what I'm saying. When you go in and bomb 2 million people every day, and ethnicals, you're not doing it to the Palestinians.
They don't
you're not
bomb
doing it
2
because, hold a
million
moment,
people every
Max,
day, or they
Max, you have
kill
to let
2
me
million
finish.
people.
Max, you
No,
have to let me finish.
but you keep making misstatements.
No, I'm not. So are you, Max. But I let you finish. So allow me. We both have a right. When you bomb children, when you bomb Palestinian women and children, kill 30,000, your intention is to ethnically clean Gaza. You own your even
That's what
Netanyahu.
Hamas did
Max,
on October
Max,
7th.
you have
They
to let me
killed
finish.
women and children
Max, you have to let me finish.
intentionally.
Max,
Can I ask
you
Max
have,
one
I can't
question,
believe this.
Mitra? Max, can
Max,
I
let me
ask you one
finish.
question? And
Sure,
then I
just
don't.
what? Okay, sure.
Just one question.
Sure.
Israel is known throughout the world as being probably the best country or leader of knowing intel. They have the best intel ever. And you're going to tell me, Max, honestly, that Netanyahu did not see the October 7th massacre coming. And Max, I tell you honestly, the meaning of genocide.
I don't think that's the issue.
It is the issue, Max. It is the issue because the intention is to ethnically cleanse Palestinians, Max. Go ahead.
The point
I'm sorry,
is,
Vicky.
Max, is that Bibi was handed a carte blanche with this, and it gave him the power to go and attack the Palestinians. Now, look, if you want to look back and forth if it's genocide, it's not genocide, whatever else. Go to your dictionary and look at the meaning of genocide, because it means
I have.
to actively participate in the killing of a certain ethnicity. And if this
No,
is not
no, that's not
genocide,
the definition.
oh, Max, please, okay, Max, you know what?
You
I
have to
like
have
you a
an
lot. I like you a
intention.
lot,
You
but I
have to
think
have
that you are
an
wrong with
intention
this.
to eradicate
Okay, Max, you
the
know what?
population based on their ethnicity. You have to have the intention, and Israel does not have the intention to kill all Gazans as the Nazis had with Jews in Poland. 97% were killed. Why
Okay,
hadn't
Max.
they killed 97? They could have easily killed 97%
Max,
of the Gaza population.
Max.
There was no defense for these people.
Max,
Hamas wasn't defending them.
Max, no
Hamas
one's
was
gonna
hiding
Max. Hey,
behind them.
Max, stop. You're repeating the same thing. If it's your opinion, we're not going to change you. There's a general agreement. You're wrong, and even
Well,
the
I hope
international
somebody's
community.
listening.
That's your no.
Ask
Because
about
the problem is
Israeli
you're not
intent.
listening. But the problem is you're
Ask
not listening.
about Israeli intent on
But
killing
Max, you
Gazans.
are Max,
Yeah.
you are excusing ethnic cleansing by lying to yourself. I'm sorry.
It's
How could
not
you
ethnic
really-
cleansing, and you're
Max,
misusing
I
the
love you,
term.
but come on. To say it's not ethnically cleansing, even the members of the parliament said we are going to remove them. We're going to ethnically cleanse them. You have people like Ben Gvir that's running the government saying we're going to ethnically cleanse. You have these people.
In the
This
3 or 4
settlers.
years that war's been going on, Israel could have killed 95% of the Gaza population. It did not do that.
You're right. It's ethnically cleansing 2 million during torture. Now, you're not going to agree with that. Excuse me, wait a minute.
That's the same thing that's happening in
It
Ethiopia.
is a disagreement that you're going to have with everyone as an interpretation. Again, I vehemently disagree with you, but that's okay. This is the thing, what's going on. And I've learned, due to my age, it's not going to make a difference. You disagree with me, and I disagree with you. And I respect your opinion, even though from my perspective, you are incorrect. The reality is, Max, it does not matter. The reality is the Israelis are seen as the pariah of the international community. That's never going to change because of the
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, but they're wrong.
That's never going to change. You are not going to make people believe when you have pictures coming out. Ben Gvir saying, it's okay to rape Palestinians, right? They have a doctor in there. He's known as
Have you not seen the pictures from the Second World War?
Max,
they're much
you are
worse.
Condoning one behavior.
Ever see the pictures of the camps?
Max, you should know better than anyone. You are condoning this behavior. And that is why there's such an anti-Semitism growing, anti-Israeli growing, of all the people. Max, of all the people who should not have done this were the Jewish people.
The Arabs attacked the Jews in 1948, right after the vote.
Jesus Christ, that was 84 years ago. What's that got to do with now? What the hell has that got to do with now?
Why was there not ethnic cleansing in 1967?
Oh my God. Okay, we're going to disagree with this, and let me tell you.
They didn't go to ethnic cleansing.
Okay, Max. I mean,
people are calling this ethnic cleansing.
Okay.
I didn't mean to.
I disagree with that. Max, hold a moment.
Term.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. But Brian has an excellent question. Brian does become money. You have to accept that fact. The reality is Israel is the pariah. The reality is no one supports Israel in the United States. Yes, you have the Zionist movement in the US, and you have the neocons and the pro-Israeli lobby in the US. I get that. But their power is not what it is. Because of that, today, in the past, you used to say, excuse me, I was starving, I ate a cracker. If you said something against Israel, you were saying anti-Semitic. No one buys that anymore, with the exception of certain groups. So if you have lost a political war, you need to come up and say, what do I do now? That is the point. The Israelis are no longer the military power or more important.
The Israelis have lost the PR war, but they're not wrong in what they're doing.
It's not just a PR war.
They're defending their country.
Okay, allow me to finish. It's not the PR war. Sometimes
it's the PR war.
Don't be, for God's sake, Max, let me finish, my darling. You don't allow people to know everything. You don't. How many
got my
times did
fist
I
up.
say in the class? No. In other words, if you have influence in the media, in the entertainment, in the education, don't gloat. Keep it to yourself. It was to the point. All these Zionists were gloating. What do you remember? We discussed a professor from Harvard, the first African. She was the first female African, the first black female vice president. The pressure came from the Israeli lobby. The pressure, they said that she's anti-Semitic, and they removed her. And if you recall that gentleman, he says, I gave $500 million. I demand to remove her. And we discussed it in the class. And I said, bro, don't be gloating that I gave money to Harvard, so they have to have my way. You don't gloat about things like that. This is a PR that Israel cannot win. This is a PR that's never going to go away for generations because it's recorded till end of time. So the question now becomes, what is the next step? I don't know. I am not sitting in Jerusalem. My advice would be, I have already lost United States support. I have already become the pariah. The economy can go back. I can't fight Lebanon, Hamas. I told the United States president, F you, I'm not going to listen to you. And I have the crisis in Syria, and I have the possible crisis in Jordan. The Israeli population and the Zionist Americans need to be honest with one another and say, now what? I don't know.
The dialogue has to change.
That is not a question I can answer.
There is no,
I don't know. I just don't know to that one.
There's no genocide on the part of Israel.
I'm talking about, okay, Max, here's the problem. I'm talking about the future.
How many
Where
Hamas?
the hell are your state? Move on. I'm talking about.
How many armed Hamas are sitting in the tunnels?
I just don't know the
How many Hamas armed Hamas are sitting in the tunnels in Gaza?
Max, let me ask you a question.
How many?
Max,
how many?
I don't know, but can I ask you a question?
70,000.
Max, can I ask you a question? Why are they in tunnel if you don't give them the freedom to breathe? Why do you have 4 million people in the street in 14 miles?
Israel did not build the tunnels.
Max, why did they build the tunnels if they had the freedom to move around? Answer me that.
They have the freedom to move around. Israel
no, they
hasn't
didn't,
been
Max.
bothered
Okay, Max. Okay,
Gaza
Max.
since 2006.
Okay.
They left.
No, they haven't,
Gaza
Max.
18 years ago.
No, they didn't. Israel.
Yes, they did. 20 years ago now.
Max, if you want to lie to yourself, lie. Don't lie to me. Because paper, yes. Even the Israeli military, even Mossad, even intelligence, even they had been a political leader. They were controlling who goes in and out. I can't change your mind because you don't want to accept that. That's fun. And I respect that because it's an extremely sensitive issue. Again, I respect that tremendously.
No.
But at the end of the day, it goes back to Brian, what Brian was asking. I don't know the answer to that. I just don't know.
Dig deep to blame this on Israel, just as Vicky just did.
Blame it on me.
Yeah,
would you make you happy? Blame it on poor Mitra. Everything else is grandma's fault.
No, and they should have done something.
Just blame it on
it's
women?
It's Israel's fault that this war started.
Max, can I tell you something?
Did Hamas have to attack the Jews on October 7th, even if Netanyahu knew they were coming?
Max, let me ask you something. Max, can I ask you something? I want you to have the courage to be honest with yourself. Have the courage. Did we not say for 1 year when the Israeli settlers were attacking mosques and killing Palestinians, did we not say, why weren't the Israelis killing Palestinians? Stop. Did we not say Hamas would blow up because you were purposely
that was genetic
blowing up?
Cleaning. There would be thousands, hundreds of thousands of dead Palestinians. I don't support.
Max,
I don't support.
It's not going to make a difference. I apologize.
I don't support the settlers,
fine.
and they
Max,
should be stopped.
Max,
Israel
does it make you happy?
For not
the Israelis are
buying up settlers.
Okay,
I
Max.
agree with that.
Okay,
Max. I disagree with you calling Israel
It doesn't matter.
Carrying out
it's
genocide.
done. It's over.
It's just wrong.
You could, wrong. Max. Fine. That's your. And you know what? You say it's wrong, but the million people say you're wrong. I'm not going to change million, and I'm not going to change you. I'm sorry. It's a very sensitive issue. I'm sure if I have a Palestinian here, would tell you the opposite. I mean, you all are jumping at me like I'm some kind of important person taking side.
To eliminate the
I'm just,
Gazans.
Brian, I could kill you for this. Brian, I hope,
Well,
I got a few words for you, Brian. I'm never going to allow you to talk again. But no,
let me
Max,
say,
I understand. Jesus
let
Christ,
me
Brian.
say thank you, Max,
Brian,
for
think about
providing.
intent.
No, listen, this
Think-
is an intellectual
think about
class. I
intent
love
and
the
think
fact that
about
Max
numbers.
speaks. No, I like
Right.
Max speaking. This is an intellectual class. You have to speak out. I can't stand when you go to class and nobody's allowed to talk. This is what this class is about. And honestly, I would continue. It's just so freaking hot. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely. It's a brilliant class. I love the guys. Thank you so much. Now remember, I will email everyone end of next week because the hybrid
me?
class. Yeah, end of no, there's no class next week. No. I will email everyone end of next week to start the day for September. We got to take about we're going to have a month break because I guarantee you a month from now, it's going to be the same cockamamie topic. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to take a month off and we're supposed to be in, Miami Shores. If they're not, I'm talking, but perhaps I could have it in Aventura. So we're going to have 3 weeks off. I'm going to email you when I get back to Miami because I get back to Miami next Tuesday, God willing, And so I talked to them directly and then we start. So we have the next class is the 7th. What is the 7th or the day of September? What day is Tuesday? Somebody look at our thing. 7th or 8th of September. Whatever that Tuesday is, 7 or 8 or whatever it is, we're going to come back and when?
The 8th.
The 8th, right. That's the first week of the class. Again, we're going back to a system is hybrid. Remember, hybrid is different. It's not like this. We could yell, we could scream. Hopefully I have my coffee by then. Again, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. I know you all are watching the news. But I want you to keep an eye on Jordan. I want you to keep an eye on Paris. I look at the border with Syria, right? Believe me, things are not normal there. I'm just seeing things and I'm going like that. Have a wonderful summer. Be very careful. And here's the other thing. Do not watch the news every day. I said keep an eye, but do not watch the news every day. Although next Tuesday for domestic, I want to know what's going on. I really want to know. You guys have a wonderful holiday. See you guys
Bye.
I'll be in
Thank
Miami
you.
next week.
Have a safe flight home.
No, thank
Bye.
you, Max. Bye, you guys. Yeah, I'll be
Thank you.
boozing it up. I'm business.
Thank you,
I'll be like,
Mitra. Have a good month. Bye.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.